The reason you're stuck in the cycle of effort and burnout isn't a lack of motivation. It's a lack of design. You're working inside a flawed machine. We'll show you the single, highest level mindset that fixes every problem at once by making your life run on autopilot. Just let that sink in for a second. That feeling of just being exhausted, of spinning your wheels but going absolutely nowhere. Well, it's not a personal failure. It's not some flaw in your character or a lack of drive. It is a predictable, almost mechanical output of the environment you're in. The key to freedom, the real key to getting your energy and focus back, is to stop trying to be a better cog in a busted machine and instead become the architect of a new one. You know, most of us are just completely wiped out because we spend our entire lives fighting symptoms. We see procrastination, so we download a new to-do list app. We feel anxiety, so we try to fight it with sheer willpower. We're fatigued, so another cup of coffee. But these are just band-aids. They never, ever address the real wound. So let's stop chasing symptoms. Let's go deeper and fix the core underlying system that's creating all these problems in the first place. So our journey to building this new operating system for your life, it has a really clear blueprint. First, we're going to unpack the burnout paradox. Then we'll expose the willpower trap that's keeping you stuck. From there, we'll get into the good stuff, the core framework of designing for autopilot and the neuroscience of why it actually works. And finally, we're going to give you a super precise 3-step guide so you can start mastering your own systems like today. All right, let's dive into our first section with an idea that might feel a little weird, but it's absolutely critical. It's the burnout paradox. This is that frustrating reality where the very effort you're putting in, the hustle, the late nights, the sheer force of will you think is the solution, is actually the source of the problem. It's why working harder so often leads to getting less done. The invisible enemy, the thing that just kills all your progress and drains all your energy, it's the state of reactive living. It's basically a life of constant firefighting. You wake up and bam, you're reacting to emails, to notifications, to what other people need from you. You're making hundreds of tiny, unplanned decisions all day, just patching leaks and chasing symptoms. You're so busy fighting these little daily battles that you never have the energy to step back and ask, hey, why is this war even happening? This isn't being productive, it's just motion, and it's totally, completely unsustainable. Okay, so why is this state of reactive living so destructive? Well, the science points us to our next huge problem, a concept in psychology called the willpower trap. This is the hidden mechanism that just drains our ability to make good choices. So the core science here is called ego depletion. Basically, your willpower, your self-control, your ability to make good, conscious decisions, it's not infinite. Think of it like a battery. It's a real, measurable resource that gets used up. Every single conscious decision you make, no matter how small, drains this battery. Resisting the urge to check your phone? Yep, that costs willpower. Deciding what to work on first? Costs willpower. Forcing yourself to hit the gym after a long day? Wow, that costs a ton of willpower. When you rely only on willpower, you're starting every day with a resource that is guaranteed to die. You're setting yourself up for a massive uphill battle. And this right here, this shows you the collapse of your self-control during the day. At 9 a.m., you're fresh, right? Your battery's at 100%. You can make great choices, you can focus, you can say no to temptation. But look what happens. After a day of meetings, decisions, fighting off distractions, by 3 p.m., you're already down to 40%. And by 8 p.m., you are running on fumes, 15%. This is exactly why you can stick to your diet all day long, but then at night you find yourself elbow deep in a bag of chips. It's not a moral failure, it's a resource failure. Your decision-making fuel tank is just empty. So this leads us to the most important question of all. If willpower is this finite thing that's guaranteed to run out every single day, how can you possibly guarantee long-term success with anything important? How do you build a life that doesn't depend on a resource you know is going to fail you? The answer? You change the game. You stop playing a game you're literally designed to lose. You stop relying on willpower and you start making success independent of your mood, your motivation, or your energy levels. And this is where we introduce the master framework, designing for autopilot with systems thinking. This is the method for turning draining, conscious choices into effortless automatic actions. This blueprint for building your life's autopilot rests on 3 core pillars. First, you've got the identification of your constraints, or what we'll call bottlenecks. This is the one single point of friction that makes the whole system fail. Second is the design for automaticity, where you strategically engineer things so the right behavior is the default, the easy, thoughtless choice. And third, you need consistent system maintenance, a feedback loop to make sure your systems get stronger over time, not weaker. Okay, so the absolute most crucial starting point is ruthless identification. You take a chronic problem, let's say procrastination, and you become a detective. You trace it backward. And you don't just stop at, I feel lazy. You ask why. Maybe you feel lazy because you're tired. Why are you tired? Because you slept terribly. Why did you sleep terribly? Because you were on your phone in bed. Why? Because your phone charger is right there next to your bed. Aha, that is the bottleneck. The location of your phone charger is the single root input causing that downstream symptom of procrastination. So once you've found the bottleneck, you move into design. And this part is key. You don't try to solve the problem with willpower. You don't just say, I'll just try harder not to use my phone. No, you create a structural fix. You create what's called a frictionless default. In this case, you move the phone charger to another room. See, you've installed a physical, environmental constraint that makes the right choice, not looking at your phone in bed, the absolute path of least resistance. You make the wrong choice harder and the right choice automatic. And finally, no system just runs itself forever without a little oversight. You have to schedule a non-negotiable weekly review. This isn't some huge, complicated thing. It's just a 30-minute block on your calendar where you look at your systems and ask, where did they fail? Where did a little bit of friction sneak back in? This is your continuous feedback loop. It's how you check the data, make tiny improvements, and make sure your life's operating system is constantly getting better and stops you from drifting back into chaos. So we've covered what the framework is. Now let's get into the science of why it's so ridiculously effective. This isn't just some productivity philosophy, it's a real neurological hack that fundamentally changes how your brain spends its energy. To really get this, you need to know about two key parts of your brain. First, you've got your prefrontal cortex, the PFC. Think of it as the CEO. It handles conscious thought, complex problem solving, and willpower. It's incredibly powerful, but man, it's slow, and it drains energy like crazy. Then you have your basal ganglia. This is the factory floor. It runs on autopilot. It executes learned habits and routines with amazing speed and efficiency using almost no energy. So systems thinking is basically the process of offloading tasks from your overworked CEO to the efficient factory floor. It frees up your most valuable mental energy for the stuff that really matters. And this whole thing works by hacking your brain's natural habit-forming machine, what we call the habit loop. First, by designing your environment, you create the cue. So putting your running shoes by the door, that's a powerful external trigger. That cue then kicks off the automatic action, putting them on and going for a run. And finally, the reward solidifies the loop. It's not just the good feeling from the run, it's actually a measurable drop in the stress hormone cortisol as your brain goes, a stable, predictable pattern. Your brain loves this efficiency, which reinforces the loop and makes the behavior even more automatic next time. You've basically outsourced your motivation to your environment. Pretty cool, right? Okay, theory is great, but let's make this real. Let's get practical. Right now, we're going to walk through the exact actionable steps you need to take to build your very first automated system and finally install your own life autopilot. So we're coming back to our 3 core pillars, but this time, think of them as a direct set of instructions for you. First, you're going to audit the bottleneck. Second, you will design the automation loop. And third, you will implement system maintenance. Let's build one together right now. Let's use a classic recurring problem. I always skip my morning workout. Okay, step 1, audit the bottleneck. Don't just blame motivation, trace the actual process. The alarm goes off, it's dark, the clothes are way over there in the closet, you have to find them, get them out. That is friction. It's just a tiny bit of friction, but at 6 a.m., that's more than enough to make you hit snooze. That's your bottleneck. So, step 2, design the automation loop. Create that structural fix. The night before, you lay out your workout clothes right next to your bed. Boom. You've eliminated the decision, you've removed the friction. The path of least resistance now leads directly to getting dressed and working out. And now for step 3, system maintenance. Once a week, on your calendar, you're going to ask yourself one simple but incredibly powerful question. What one tiny piece of friction can I eliminate next week? Maybe you notice you still have to hunt for your headphones. Okay, next week's tweak is to put the headphones with the clothes. It's this process of constant, tiny improvements that makes your systems totally unbreakable over time. All right, let's zoom out for the final and maybe the most important takeaway here. When you start doing this, you're not just picking up a new tactic. You are embracing an entirely new paradigm for productivity, for focus, and for what it really means to live an effective life. Just let this one sink in. If a problem keeps coming back, the issue isn't the problem itself. The issue is your method of solving it. It's a sign that you're relying on willpower. You're treating a symptom. A recurring problem is basically a signal from your life telling you that a system is missing. So let's tie this all together. At its core, systems thinking is the big shift. You go from being a puppet pulled around by the strings of chaos to being the architect of a system that actually protects your energy. It directly solves the two big enemies of progress we talked about, the chaos of reactive living and the guaranteed failure of willpower depletion. And why does this matter so much? Because it gives you the practical blueprint for a life that runs on autopilot. Not in some robotic, boring way, but in a way that automates all the boring stuff so you can be fully present and creative for the things that truly count. That bottleneck audit and the automation loop, those are the tools you use to get there. They work because they systematically save your prefrontal cortex energy, offloading all that work to your brain's habit center. This is how you make success in your health, your work, your focus, the effortless, low-friction default option. So please remember this. True productivity isn't about doing more. It's not about running faster on the hamster wheel. It is about stepping off and mastering the systems that make focus, progress, and success the most effortless things you do all day. Now, go audit your biggest bottleneck.